Can you think of a time when your frustration level with a family member or loved one was off the charts because of a behavioral issue? Maybe that was the 6th speeding ticket this summer. Maybe it was because they were twice as drunk as everybody else at the barbecue this weekend. Maybe it was fill in the blank on your own dysfunctional family. What I'd like to do today is introduce you to a concept that's actually fairly new to the behavioral sciences world that's called motivational interviewing. It was introduced in 1991 by Dr. Bill Miller. And what I'm going to do today is share with you a little bit about some of the history and kind of where it came from, share with you some of the aspects of motivational interviewing so that you can experiment on your own family members, and share you a little bit about my own life and experiences with my life. So historically, 1991, Dr. Bill Miller out of Albuquerque publishes his formal introduction to motivational interviewing, really changing the behavioral sciences world upside down. To this point, counselors really saw themselves as persuaders or coercers of change, and not so much really allies. And you could probably look back through Hollywood, or maybe even our own family histories, of some train wrecks of behavioral changes gone wrong or not really complete. I found it interesting in doing my research for this that, did you know, in several states in the 70s and 80s, the only requirements a treatment counselor had was to be in recovery themselves? So, Dr. Miller comes up with this concept of how do I bridge the gap between the counselor and or the patient or client and try to get them on the same page rather than being adversaries. So he studies this forever, and he comes up with really 3 big pieces of this puzzle. 1, folks that enter treatment or any kind of behavior change deal are in varying levels of readiness to accept change at all, which is a big aha, really. 2, that for the change to really take place, the individual needs to own it. They need to recognize that a change is going to happen and that they're going to be the ones that are going to be the impetus for that change, rather than the counselor coming up and, or the judge or whoever the case may be and trying to elicit or force that change. And then the third one is that paradigm shift between the counselor, that they actually are just there to be a partner to help facilitate change, but not to really be the enforcement agent for said change. Let me just give you maybe a couple of examples of how this may work. Let's say that I take my 6 speeding tickets, and let's say it's my brother Billy. And I go to brother Billy and I say, hey buddy, sounds like you're in a little trouble these days. Probably it's time to sell the Corvette. Right? Rather than brother Billy going, he automatically takes the other side of the conversation, making me absolutely crazy, and starts coming up with all the reasons of why it's not the right time to sell the car yet, right? You probably had these kind of experiences. And let me kind of share with you what's happening process-wise in someone's mind. Maybe you recognize that that dialogue or conversation is happening in someone's mind, both sides of the coin, kind of the angel and the devil. That dialogue is happening internally with everything you and I do. Oop, could have done that better, should have done this, didn't say this, right? Those dialogues are happening. And if I jump into a conversation with you and take one side of that coin, you almost automatically, and in some cases, especially with behavior issues, defensively, take the other side. So brother Billy starts giving me the 16 reasons why it's not time to sell the Corvette, making me absolutely crazy, right? Maybe have these kind of encounters with your own family members from time to time. So here's the idea behind motivational interviewing. If I approach it more as a partner in change, rather than an enforcer of change, and not even trying to be the enforcer, but just a loved one, the dialogue changes dramatically. Hey, brother Billy, sounds like you're in trouble with the law. What are some things maybe that we can do to get you out of this jam, or make life better, or let's start coming up with some ways that I can help. And the shoulders go down, the volume in the room goes down, all sorts of things start to happen at once. And that's really kind of the idea behind it. Let me share with you just a little bit of personal experience. 2009, I started a company called Rethink Now. What I discovered was that through a lot of our lower level courts, promising methods that were being implemented had zero impact and no success. And what I was finding as I started to learn more about motivational interviewing, that the judges actually in our lower court systems had a huge disconnect between punishment and behavior change. And the judges were thinking, I'm just going to keep upping the fine or increasing the jail time or making you shovel more dung at the county, whatever, as community service. And that somewhere along the way, you're going to get the message. And they just had this huge, didn't get it. So I started meeting with the local municipal court judges, had long conversations, delicate conversations with the judge, as you can imagine, about what was happening in the courtroom and why it wasn't producing the results that they wanted. Did you know the term frequent flyers is what judges call folks that recidivate and that they see going through the courts all the time? It's so common they have a term for it, which is kind of sad. So identify the top 3 categories that were clogging up the lower courts: theft, alcohol or drug issues, or driving issues were the big 3. 70% of all caseloads fall in those 3. So we came up with some programming, honestly, using motivational interviewing, and I asked the judges to actually make it a part of sentencing. And a few judges picked up on it right away because they recognized the disconnect. We saw a 70% drop in recidivism rates with the toughest frequent flyer crowd in the first 30 days. And it continued to build on from there and there. The program is going strong to this day. Hundreds, probably thousands of our local folks have gone through the program. And I think it's making a pretty healthy impact in a lot of our folks in our community. Motivational interviewing. In front of you are some pretty cool topics and pieces of this puzzle that I would encourage you to try to experiment on your loved ones. Try a different form of communication with those that may be needing help. I think you may find it very beneficial. Greg Haupert,